Welcome back to another episode of the Draw Control Podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by sophomore on the Brown women's lacrosse team, Codi Johnson. This past season, Cody earned second team All Ivy honors and second team IWLCA All Northeast Region honors as she appeared and started in all 17 games as she had a team high 18 caused turnovers and helped lead Brown to an NCAA tournament appearance. Thank you so much, Cody, for coming on the podcast today. And how is everything going?
Of course, yeah, everything's good. I'm excited to be home for the summer. But honestly, missing Providence and can't wait to get back.
Now, well, your season just wrapped up a few weeks ago. So, overall, what have you taken away from your sophomore year as you reflect on this past season?
Yeah, so honestly, sophomore year was a lot easier than my freshman year. With an extra year under your belt, there are just a lot of things that you don't have to learn. But yeah, I played a little bit of a bigger role this season. But my love grew for my team even more. And honestly, this year, I think I learned the importance of culture, and how lucky I was to be surrounded by such a good group of girls. We have a team of about 45. So, honestly, like I feel really glad to be surrounded by so many good teammates. And also, as far as lacrosse, I learned the importance of setting high standards, and just knowing that we can achieve them as a team. And then also just knowing there are ups and downs in a season, which we experienced, of course, as any team does. But definitely stressing the importance of the journey and working through those ups and downs. And then lastly, kind of cliche, but I feel like this year flew by and all of a sudden I'm an upperclassman. So, and some of my friends are graduating. So I've really just learned to slow down, enjoy every moment. And yeah.
Now, what are your plans for the off season? Is there some things that you want to improve on regarding your game?
Yeah, so I'm home in Maryland and I'm really prioritizing healing my body from the season, especially right now. But yeah, I'm getting back to summer workouts, and I'm hoping to improve on a lot of my intangibles like IQ, leadership, and then also focusing on the little things like footwork, stick work, especially as a defender, and then things like that, ground balls.
Yeah, let's talk about the leadership aspect of what you're trying to work on. So obviously, like you mentioned, you're now an upperclassman. So have you thought about the type of leadership you want to bring towards the team, especially as a defender, being one of the top communicators with that unit?
Yeah, so obviously we're losing a tremendous graduating class of about like 15 people. And a lot of them were starters. And they were a big part of our team, both on and off the field. So I have big shoes to fill. So I've definitely been thinking about leadership a lot and just like the role that I'm going to play on our team. Um, and as a defender, it's commonly thought, I feel like that it's hard to have a huge impact, but honestly, it's one of the hardest positions to come into as a freshman and even to break into the starting lineup. So I definitely think that I can help a lot of the incoming girls with that and a lot of the girls who are going to step up and have a bigger role this season. And yeah, I've learned a lot of lessons from the senior class this past year, the importance of inclusivity, and setting a good example, and both on and off the field. And yeah, I really gained a lot of takeaways from them, that I hope to carry into next year.
Now let's transition and talk about the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of work up to where you are now with Brown. So you're from Silver Springs, Maryland. Talk about growing up there and how'd you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so Silver Spring is near DC, so it's way south of Baltimore. Um, and I'm lucky to live in a state where lacrosse is such a big sport and so easily accessible. So I definitely recognize that. But yeah, that definitely played a huge role in me starting to play lacrosse. I played soccer initially, in elementary school. And actually, one of my family friends introduced me to lacrosse. She's a lot older than I am, and she went to Stanford. But Yeah, as soon as I started playing in first grade, I instantly loved the fast pace of the game, and I thought it was something that I'd want to get better at throughout the years. So yeah, it's just been going since first grade.
And growing up, who was like your favorite lacrosse player or team that you like to watch?
Yeah, so again, very typical, but Maryland was definitely my favorite team. I knew all of the players when I was in like elementary and middle school. So, and I would go to a lot of the games. And then as I got older and like into high school, I loved watching Northwestern too, and Kelly Monty and all of those girls. And then yeah, I went to a bunch of Final Fours. There were a couple at Towson, I think, and then at Foxborough. So that was fun. But yeah, specifically, I really liked watching Lizzie Colson. She's super intense and fiery, and she caused a lot of turnovers. And then Kayla Wood, obviously, is like an amazing role model, I feel like. And then Taylor Cummings, who I had the privilege of being coached by and taking lessons with. Down here in Maryland.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I did you go to the Final Four that just happened?
No, I didn't actually. Yeah, I was at Brown for graduation, but yes, I did see that. I just watched it on TV.
Okay, okay. Well, I know some of your former high school teammates won that championship, so I don't know if you had the chance to see
Yeah.
them or not. But I understand graduation's a little, probably a little more important than the Final Four. Even I have to admit that. Now, before you played college, you played for McDonough School, where you were coached by Taylor Cummings, like you just mentioned. So, talk about your time there. What was that like for yourself? And do you have like a favorite memory from your time looking back on it now?
Yeah, totally. So, I live pretty far away from McDonough, about like an hour. So, honestly, like the switch there was not very easy, but once I got there, I instantly loved it. The athletics there, obviously the lacrosse, very historically solid. So it was a good decision for me. And shout out to my parents for being so dedicated to giving me the best that I could possibly have. And yeah, I played under Taylor Cummings and Meg Nakatra, who was an All-American and played for Duke. So I feel like that was super beneficial to my development as a player. My freshman year was COVID, so it was definitely sad, but an opportunity to develop my game. And then as I got into varsity and my sophomore year, definitely practicing and learning from such high level players, like Caroline Godin, Corey Edmondson, was a unique experience and definitely super beneficial. Girls going to BC, UNC, Maryland, Harvard, Penn. So it was definitely challenging, but I'm grateful for how it shaped who I am and my competitiveness. As far as a favorite memory, I definitely have one that sticks out. My senior year, we beat St. Paul's, who are our longtime rivals. And I think that's the only time we won a championship, an IAAM championship while I was there. So that being my senior year was definitely a highlight. Um, and yeah, an unmatched feeling.
Who was the toughest attacker to defend when you were there, since there were so many talented ones?
Wow, that's a tough question. One that sticks out to me, I think, is Caroline Godin. Obviously, she just won a national championship, so that's not surprising. But yeah, she's just such a great dodger and such a dynamic player. She made me a lot better, needless to
I can
say.
imagine, yeah. Now, you also played your club lacrosse with MND. So, how did your club lacrosse experience sort of help prepare you for college with Brown?
Yeah, so M&D is obviously a pretty widely known club, I feel like, across at least the East Coast. And our team was definitely super competitive, pretty good. A bunch of high level players again. I got to learn from so many of my teammates. A couple go to Clemson, Maryland, Virginia Tech. So that definitely shaped me pretty well. And then additionally, like, just playing with teammates that make you look good, I feel like was the experience that I had at M&D. Such high IQ girls. And yeah, I mean, told me the importance of that. And then high standards. again, and high intensity was definitely something that we experienced throughout our time at M&D.
Now you've been talking about all the teammates you've gotten to play with before your time with Brown, but I saw that one of your Brown teammates was a teammate of yours with McDonough, and that's McKenna London. How cool is it to play with someone in both high school and now in college, and what's your relationship like with her?
Yeah, so McKenna's one of my best friends at Brown, obviously. But yeah, I've been playing with her since seventh grade. So I don't know, she might be sick of me by now, but she's an awesome attacker, super skilled. She's a lefty, which is also pretty cool. But yeah, just always having someone good to practice against. She plays attack, obviously, but just like 1v1s, she's got a great shot. And yeah, just forcing me to get better. But yeah, we're pretty close now, and I'm lucky to be at school with her and have someone that I've known for so long. Especially freshman year going into Brown. That was definitely amazing.
Now, what was your recruiting process like with Brown, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at?
Yeah, so going into my recruiting year, I knew that I wanted to prioritize academics. I'm just someone who's always put school first and obviously always wanted to end up at a pretty good school. So I looked mainly at Ivies and higher academic institutions. But I was recruited by Keely McDonald, who was the coach before Katrina. And Brown initially honestly wasn't on my radar. Just I didn't know a lot about the school or Rhode Island. But she reached out and I visited, and I honestly fell in love on my visit with the team and the campus. Providence is honestly a great place to be. I would highly recommend to anyone looking there, and it's just like a super unique team. I feel like in the culture is unbeatable, so that's really what drew me in. And then also aside from lacrosse, just the open curriculum and the academic support there. And I think it's the perfect distance away from home. It's like an hour flight. So that's definitely just a bunch of my boxes were checked with Brown.
What was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse once you like arrived on campus for fall ball?
Yeah, so honestly, credit to McDonough and Taylor and M&D for preparing me for the intensity. I feel like it's a pretty big jump for anyone coming from any high school, but honestly, McDonough prepared me well, M&D prepared me well. The intensity of a lot of our practices was similar to the intensity of my practices at Brown. Obviously, probably higher at Brown, but yeah, it wasn't too big of a jump in that respect. But honestly, the physicality was probably the biggest adjustment. Just stronger girls, fast girls, a faster paced game. Definitely the conditioning is something that probably everyone gets shocked by going into college. And then lastly, just the hours that you put in to improving your game, whether it's scheduled hours or just getting extras in, and the commitment to really getting better and doing well was a big adjustment.
Now, during your freshman year, your team won 10 games with big wins over UMass and UAlbany, but unfortunately, your team didn't qualify for the Ivy League playoffs or the NCAA tournament. What did you learn from that season that you think helped your team for this season, like as a whole?
Yeah, so obviously, it was a historic year. But like you said, not qualifying for the Ivy League tournament or the NCAAs was disappointing, but I think it definitely served as motivation and a reminder. I know this year our seniors and Katrina reminded us about that probably weekly, which really lit a fire under us and made us really want to do well this year. We also learned that we're a team that has probably the most belief out of the Ivy League is at least the Ivy League is what we like to say all the time. We have huge hearts. We love each other and we want to do well. So I think that's something that's super special. We knew we were capable of being a tournament team, and my freshman year just gave us experience in playing top 20, top 10 teams. Um, We had a really close game against Notre Dame that we lost in the last, I want to say, 30 seconds. So, just like having a lot of close games and knowing that we were able to compete, even though we didn't make it to the tournament, was super important. We learned from a lot of the teams that we were playing against, especially in the Ivy League, like Penn and Princeton. And yeah, Katrina always likes to say that the best people to learn from are the people you're on the field with or playing against. So I think that was definitely true my freshman year.
What's it like being coached by Katrina Dowd? I know she didn't recruit you, but you got pretty lucky being coached by, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in the NCAA.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love her. I think she's definitely one of the best coaches that I've ever had. She just has what a lot of people don't know about her, I think, is that she has just an extreme love for the game. She's always watching film, always thinking about ways that we could get better, always thinking of things that we can do to make us better. And yeah, that energy is just unmatched by anyone I've ever met. And honestly, I feel like it's contagious. She makes all of us want to be better, do better, play well for our teammates. She just has such a deep understanding of the game, which I think is pretty special. And we're so lucky to have her. She's very passionate, and she brings just a lot of intensity. And I mean, that may be scary to some people, but I think it's brought our program a lot of success. And once you buy into it, it's honestly a pretty special thing.
You get to play in the Ivy League, and this year, in my opinion, I thought the Ivy League was the most competitive conference in all of the NCAA, just because every week you got huge upsets and you didn't know which four teams were going to make the playoffs or not. From a player's perspective, what was it like being a part of that conference, or what's it like being a part of that conference and just the competition that you guys face each conference game?
Yeah, I always say that I feel like I agree with you. The Ivy League is probably the most competitive league in the NCAA, especially in women's lacrosse. And it's really a privilege to be able to play in it and play against the competition that we play against. We look forward to the regular season every year. Our practices leading up to our first regular season game are always intense and always fun. Um, every team presents a challenge. Every team presents its own unique challenge. And I honestly look forward to doing scout. I know a lot of people do. We're always excited to see the scout for Ivy League teams and see what our game plans are. Um, and I think throughout the Ivy League, there's just a universal sense of a chip on our shoulder or something to prove from to other leagues like the ACC or the Big Ten. And I honestly think it's a pretty special league. We have great players like Anna Brandt, Fallon Vaughn, Mackenzie Blake, that really challenge me, at least. And I think it's just everyone's good and everyone's looking to get better. And it's just always dynamic and it forces you to be a dynamic player, which I really love.
Yeah, for sure. It was surprising to me, like you mentioned, sort of having a chip on your shoulder to see like only Yale getting a home like regional,
Hmm.
compared to like Princeton who had really good year and they didn't even get one. So I
Yeah.
feel like you guys are still trying to prove yourself to the rest of the country, at least from my perspective.
Exactly. And even just, I feel like we saw that or we kind of brought that energy going into NCAAs playing against Syracuse. And I know I'm pretty sure all of the Ivies played against non-conference teams. So just like carrying that energy into NCAAs, although it is a burden at times, it's definitely a great motivator and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Now, this past season, your team got off to a good start, but then you got lost a really tough game to Cornell. But then it felt like after that game, it really sort of sparked your team because you guys got big wins over Yale and Harvard, which significantly helped your team qualify for the Ivy League playoffs. Just talk about getting those wins against Harvard and Yale and what it's like defending against those great attackers they have, especially Yale with that 1-2 combo of Fallon Vaughn and Jenna Colligan.
Yeah. So the Cornell loss definitely drove us to work harder. I mean, no one felt good after that, but I think we all agree that it was crucial to having us end up in both tournaments. It really drove us to look inward, work on ourselves, work harder, bring more intensity. Um, it also increased our opportunity to prove ourselves and our need to prove ourselves. Um, Katrina likes to say that every game is an opportunity to prove who we are, to set a new standard for ourselves. Um, yeah, Harvard and Yale specifically, great wins. Obviously, we lost to both Harvard and Yale my freshman year, and Harvard was a tough, pretty emotional loss. Definitely a hard experience as a freshman, but yeah, beating them this year was definitely a highlight. We had to work hard in both of those games. We had to work hard leading up to both of those games. And that just makes it all the more rewarding. Yale, obviously, when we beat them, they were a top 10 team, which was just an unmatched feeling. I think it was also historic for Brown. So just being a part of that history was great. Um, it's an amazing feeling to see the work and hours that we put in paying off. Everyone on our team was dialed in, everyone on our team wanted to win, and that drove us to success. Um, you mentioned the great attackers that I get to play against. Um, Keely Block, Mackenzie Blake, Jamie McDonald. They're honestly just such great players. They have such dynamic moves. They're always getting better, which forces us to stay dynamic and keep getting better. And we're forced to constantly grow our IQ, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I think that it's a great opportunity for us and for me specifically, and I love it.
Now, this past season, you guys got to experience your first Ivy League playoff game against Princeton and then your first NCAA tournament game against Syracuse. Even though you lost both those games, what did you take away from those experiences and how do you hope to build upon that for your junior year?
Yeah, so I would say I walked away from this season with somewhat of a similar feeling as my freshman year. Just as a player, you always want more and you always want to do better. So making history was amazing, but just still feeling like we were coming up short or we could have done better was tough. But honestly, the experience of the feeling of being at both of those tournaments and the support of all the people rallying around us, rooting for us, being in our corner was just amazing. We had a lot of the alums texting us, making videos for us. A lot of them were at the game, which was great. And I think just taking away that we know that people are supporting us, we know that we have people behind us is definitely going to be a big driver for this next year. And those losses, honestly, will be great motivators for next year. I honestly took away that we belong there. I know for our first time there, it was a little bit tough, um, one could assume it would be, but I think now we know what it's like to be on such a big stage, and we know that we belong, and we know that we're capable of more than we think. And honestly, I'm excited to get to work for next season.
What would you say was the biggest improvement you made to your game this past year?
Yeah, so as a freshman to a sophomore, I feel like, a big change in your experience. With 1 year under your belt, like I mentioned before, there's just a lot more confidence, which is big for me. I definitely learned the importance of the intangibles, game sense and IQ, the ability to read attackers, I think is something that I got a lot better at, and the ability to know my opponent and to make plays like cause turnovers, check scrambles, interceptions. Um, that was definitely something that I tried to work on and focus on this year. And then I started playing on the draw circle as well, which was probably the most drastic change. But yeah, it was a great challenge. And I feel like that's something that I can definitely get better at. But I really focused on growing that part of my game this past year.
Well, let's move on to a segment I like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where I ask you some non-lacrosse questions to get to know you more off the field. I'll answer some of these as well to make it a more fun segment for everyone listening. So, first one is, what's the best concert you've ever been to?
I would say that's a tough one. Probably this is a little bit of a niche, but Tyler, the Creator, I've been to three of his concerts. They're just like very well done. But I'm looking forward to going to Lord in September, which I think will be a really good one too.
Nice, nice. Now, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
Um, Probably Io DeBerry. She is one of the chefs in The Bear. She's really funny, and I think she's an amazing actress. So I would want her to play me probably.
Nice. Now, if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Um, that's also tough. I would think maybe Serena Williams, just because she has a lot of accomplishments, and I would want to know how she competed at such a high level for such a long time and juggled so many aspects of her life. Or I think Ryan Reynolds is also really funny, kind of a drastic switch, but I like the Deadpool movies too, so I think he would be entertaining.
Yeah. I would say for me, sort of similar answer to you, but Tom Brady, just to hear all of his
Hmm.
accomplishments, but the fact that he was like very like no one really thought he would be able to accomplish that stuff as like a sixth round pick. So that would be really cool. And I'm a big Patriots fan as well, so that sort of it would make it really special if I could do that.
For sure.
Now, what has been the most interesting thing you've read or seen recently?
Um, this I've been reading a book for a while now, just because in season we were a little bit busy, but the book Inner Excellence I would recommend to anyone, even people who don't play sports. It's definitely um very unique, and it's changed my mindset on a lot of things.
Now, let's ask you some questions about some of your teammates. Which player on the Brown women's lacrosse team would you want to be like stuck on a long road trip with?
Probably Grace Nemiroff. She's definitely the funniest person on our team, and I think that would be a fun road trip, and it would go by pretty fast.
Who has the best style on the Brown women's lacrosse team besides yourself, obviously?
Definitely Marley Wright. I think everyone on our team would agree about that unanimous unanimously.
Now, is there any show that you could binge watch all day?
Yes, I would say Suits. I've also definitely done that before with Suits, so I think it's a great show.
Now, last non-lacrosse question is what's been the most interesting or like favorite class you've ever taken at Brown?
Um, this past fall, I took a class called History of Law, Great Trials. And I learned about a lot of trials, some I already knew about, and some that I was learning for the first time. And I want to go to law school, so it was super interesting for me. It was a history class.
Nice. That sounds like a lot of fun. Which one was
Hmm.
like the most interesting trial that you learned about?
Um, hmm, I don't remember names, but there was one, we read some fictional ones or um micro history ones that are kind of just like not renowned people. But there was one about a guy who, this is like in the 17th century Europe, left a town and then some other man came back and pretended to be him, and everyone believed him for a while. And then the other guy came back, and then the fraud was put on trial and had to do a lot of punishment things for stealing identity. So I thought that was kind of funny and very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like you would know if it's not the same guy. I feel like they probably didn't look the same.
Yeah, one would think, but that's what everyone in my class was saying too. So it was interesting for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Now let's get back to a couple lacrosse questions now. One I want to ask you was what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
Yeah, so I think just like something that I've experienced being on a team with a bunch of different girls from a bunch of different places is that there should be more accessibility to girls and to girls in other states. Just like different teams to play on at a high level. Um, I think that is probably like the biggest thing.
Now, do you have any advice for younger lacrosse players listening to this on what it takes to be a college lacrosse player like yourself?
Yeah. I would say definitely watching college games. I mean, I still watch college games, obviously, and I still feel like I learned something new. But yeah, watching college level players and high level games is definitely super important. And then just like having a love for the game and a desire to get better is definitely going to take you far. And just the competitiveness, that's a big thing on our team. Each and every one of us is competitive, and wants to do well.
Now, Cody, do you have any shout outs you want to give to your teammates, family members, friends, or classmates? And who should we have on the podcast next?
Yeah, shout out Brown Women's Lacrosse special team, especially the graduating class, special class. Um, Shout out, I'm coaching an M&D team this summer, so shout out M&D 2031, Black, um, great girls. They're in seventh grade, and I love them. And then shout out, yeah, I think that's it. Shout out all the girls that I played with on M&D too. I think you should have Natalie Shirliff on next from Clemson.
Okay, okay. Well, you made me feel old now that you're talking about the class of 2031. That's crazy.
They make
But
me feel old too.
but thank you so much, Cody, though, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. I enjoyed talking with you today, and obviously wishing you all the best this off season. Have fun training, but also relax and enjoy that as well, just the time off, and hope wishing you guys all the best for the upcoming season as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem.